There's a new truck made by Toyota that has Ford and GM crapping their pants. Right now, currently, the cheapest vehicles in the United States are the Nissan Versa S, which retails for just under $17,000, and the Ford Maverick XL, which retails just slightly under $24,000 US. Both, interestingly enough, the lowest cost vehicles are both built in Mexico. But there's a couple of things going on and a couple of interesting dynamics because we know there's some big tariffs potentially being applied to Canada and Mexico. Scrap the tariffs, forget about it. Just look at the vehicle for what it is. There is some stiff competition by Toyota. Let's talk briefly about the new Toyota IMV-0 or the Hilux Champ truck. That's right, it's a stripped out bare bones, low entry point vehicle that Toyota's created. It's being utilized in actually other markets. We haven't seen it in the US, and compliments of the infamous chicken tax, which is approximately 25% tax applied before all of these other tariffs that were applied to non-American made pickup trucks from foreign markets to prevent foreign vehicles from being sold in the US. This unfortunately has kept a lot of great vehicles outside. The Toyota Hilux Champ could totally revolutionize the truck sector in United States, Canada. Clearly with high priced vehicles, we've seen truck prices go as high as $130,000, $140,000 for garden variety vehicles and specialty vehicles like some of the Shelbys, or even on top of it, the new Harley Davidson trucks are going for as much as $180,000, $190,000 Canadian. Things are out of control. But there seems to be a growing trend, and while many people want affordable vehicles, there are in fact a growing number of US and Canadian buyers that are simply okay with buying high trim level vehicles. Vehicles that have all of the bells and whistles, have all of the sunroof and the leather interior and all of the power features and power tailgates, drop down step guards, you name it. Trucks are loaded these days. They're in fact, more loaded and more luxurious than many luxury cars from 5 to 10 years ago. We already heard the Ford CEO pipe up recently, where he talked about it's just not fair having these tariffs applied to Mexican and Canadian made products because a lot of Ford products were actually built in these other countries and brought in. Of course, that does impact GM as well as Stellantis. But that's one of the big stickler points for this Toyota truck to actually come into the market, is that there's this fear of losing control, this fear of losing market share. But there's a lot of customers and consumers out there that have spoken. I personally had a lot of viewers that said, I'm totally fine with a base Maverick. All I need is a basic truck that I can haul a few little packages around, some little chores, some little duties, little projects around the house. And it's good on fuel and it's very simple and that's all I need. And there's a lot of customers looking for that basic level of truck moving transportation. Not everybody wants the jacked up diesel pickup truck that costs $135,000. Many people are looking for something a lot simpler. I mean, where did the older vehicles, think back, the older Rangers, they were much smaller, compact, simple, rear-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, manual, auto, very simple, small trucks. But now we even see how those have grown out of proportion. Even the basic little trucks from Ford have grown up, and now backfilling that is the Maverick, which coincidentally used to be a car. So the biggest fear is by the American manufacturers for fear that they will lose market share. Toyota has this IMV-0 pickup truck, the Hilux Champ, that is a very modular, small truck meant for utilitarian purposes. It comes on truck on chassis design, and it's quite affordable, and it definitely will horn in on the American makers. What type of competition do the US brands have to offer up to counter what Toyota is trying to knock down the doors and present? Well, as we said, really all you have is the Ford Maverick, and they start around $24K for something that is in the XL format. But as well, there's the GM products, the 2024 Chevy Colorado WT. It's basically a little work truck, stripped out, bare bones. And their cheapest truck retails at $31,000 and about $95. So even if they could trim a few $1,000s off here or there just to try to compete with Toyota, there's no way they could gap that by 20 grand. So clearly with Toyota knocking on the doors with this modular truck, they would literally decimate the bottom end of this entire truck market in the United States. Now, admittedly, this basic truck is stripped out. No AC, no radio. One of the reasons it can't qualify for American market right now is it doesn't have enough standard airbags designed on board. But that could all change. And of course, if Toyota were inclined to push this vehicle to the US market, even if they had to re-engineer and install a couple more airbags to meet the American regulations, it might cost, say, another $4,000 or $5,000. But even at that, even at a $15,000 price point, there isn't a truck near in the North American market that comes close. As I said, the Maverick at XL is about 24 grand. You're still about $10,000 shy of trying to meet Toyota in the middle. But this Hilux Champ has 3 different engine configurations, actually none of which have been in the North American market, and that in itself poses some challenges. You know, support, the dealer network, the familiarity for mechanics, and seriously, even just collecting parts and just being available. They probably have to get them tested, tried and true, of course, for the US market. But currently they have a 2-liter inline-4, a 2.7-liter inline-4, and a 2.4-liter turbo diesel engine. Now some say they could probably yank the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine out of the Toyota Corolla, the M20A, and incorporate it into the Hilux. The only downside is the Corolla is based on a front-wheel drive platform, so the engine sits transversely. They'd have to incorporate it so it sits more longitudinal. There may have some adapting to do with the transmission and the differential. That might look a little bit different, but it's not inconceivable that Toyota couldn't come up with a solution to sell a Hilux with the Toyota Corolla based engine. So hypothetical, to adhere to the airbag requests, that brings them up to 15 grand. Let's just say they find a solution to create a rear wheel drive configuration with that Toyota Corolla drivetrain. That's another 5 grand. Now, hypothetically, you could be in that $20,000 range. So that $10,000 truck may now look more like a $20,000 truck once all comes to fruition. But even that said, it's still almost $5,000 less than the cheapest alternative, which is the Maverick. And many would say, look, $5,000 would go a long ways. That's a couple of vacations. That's maybe within the budget. That might be all the difference in making that monthly payment. Might be the difference between making a $220 a month payment or $150 a month payment. And that might be all it takes to get people to buy it or be able to afford it. In this cost of living crisis, it's keeping people broke. Seriously, with the cost of food, the cost of housing, the cost of vehicles, this might be exactly what a lot of customers are looking for. Many people were jumping to the pump for the Maverick. We know the popularity was skyrocketing through the roof. And the sales of the Maverick is literally what pulled Ford out of the proverbial roots. I mean, their sales on the Lightning, their sales on the Mustang Mach-E were in the tank, and they were losing money on every single version that they were selling. Even the Blue Oval, the selling of the F-150s and the F-Series pickup trucks, as well as some of their smaller SUVs. Those vehicles were still making money, but marginally. And then, of course, the majority of their earnings came from the commercial division. But guess what? Toyota has a commercial vehicle or something that could play to the fleet vehicle or the personal owner that just wants something low cost and affordable. And that's the Hilux Champ. So what's your thoughts, everybody? Should they scrap the chicken tax and let Toyota knock down the front door with this new cheap truck? It might be more like $15,000, maybe even $20,000. But even at that price point, would it make sense? Would you be interested in buying that truck instead of paying that $40,000, $50,000 for a base entry-level half-ton? Or even the Maverick at $24,000, $25,000 plus? Would you be inclined to buy such a vehicle? Please do drop a line. And as well as always, check out what's going on with Ford. Boy, the CEO is panicking. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.